Now, to be an effective disciple maker, we need to know not only our strategy, but we have to have tools within each element of our strategy that we know how to use, and how to use them in the harvest, but we also know how to train other people. And we know how to train them so that they can train other people. And so when we begin to do that, we can equip 220,000 harvest laborers. And so some of the tools that we're using here in Kansas City, just want to walk through and give you a picture. But each of these tools you'll find a video on that you can learn more about. And so for when we enter into a new place, the two tools that we're going to use for our entry strategy when we're thinking, who are we going to and how are we engaging them? The first is we want to train people immediately in their oikos now. Or oikos is a Greek word for their relationships, their household. And so we want to teach them how to make an oikos map, how to pray for them, and to begin doing that immediately. But also, we want to train people in what it means, what it looks like to engage people that they may not know. And so we're also going to show them how to do a Luke 10 House of Peace search. Then, as we enter, now we have to think about what are we going to say when we get there. So what is the gospel? And so we want to give, and every believer needs to know how to share their story and God's story. And so to share their story, we're going to just use a simple 15-second testimony. So we're going to look back, we're going to look at Jesus, we're going to look forward, and we're going to ask them a question. And the other thing is we need to know how to share God's story. And so we use a simple tool called the 3 circles to do that. And as people, as we share with people, and they say yes, they want to follow Jesus, then we move down to discipling. Now within discipling, there's 2 real main questions that we want to be asking. What do I disciple them in? And how do I disciple them? And so for what do I disciple them in? When somebody first comes to faith, we want to use a simple tool that we call the Acts 2 tool. And so this is meant to be shared with them within 24 to 48 hours of their initial proclamation, their initial response to Jesus. But then, after the Acts 2 tool, then we want to get them going through the commands of Christ so that we teach them to obey all that He has commanded. But we also need to think of how. How do we actually sit down with them? What does that meeting look like? What's the process for that? And so there's 2 things that we want to teach them here. The first is, how can they begin to study Scripture on their own? And so we're going to give them a simple hermeneutic called the SWORD method. This will help them begin to learn how to dig into God's Word, to study it on their own, but also will set the framework for how we're studying the Bible with them. And the second tool within how is the 3/3 format. And so this is just what we're seeing as effective as a way to teach people to obey Jesus and a good way to split up our time and some key elements that we need to include in each and every meeting with a new believer. Within the church formation field here, as we're gathering people, we don't only want to teach them how to obey Jesus, but how to be the church. So these commands are naturally going to bleed over. And so we're not only teaching them the commands of Jesus, but these commands also is what we believe is what the church should be doing regularly. And so we're going to use Acts 2 and a tool that we just call the circle church. And so there's 9 functions that we're going to put within that circle that we want to make sure that we're doing all of those functions. And you make sure to watch that video if you're not sure what I'm talking about. The other tool that we use here is the left hand of the handy guide. And there's also a video to help explain that. Within the multiplying leaders tool here, field, we use 2 tools as well. First of all is the idea of model, assist, watch, and launch. So everything that we're doing, we're modeling, we're assisting, we're watching, and we're launching them. We're leaving them with skills that they can reproduce on their own. And then the other one is just an ongoing coaching rhythm. So these are the tools that we have found effective that we're using, rolling out here in Kansas City. And once again, you can find demonstrations. We'll model all of these tools and how they're used on other videos, so check those out.